Imagine this. It's January 3rd, 2025, and you're sitting in your apartment, maybe in Brooklyn or downtown Chicago, scrolling through your phone at 11 p.m. The New Year's excitement has already started to fade, and you're wondering if this year will be any different from the last. You made some resolutions, sure, but deep down, you know they'll probably end up like last year's gym membership, forgotten by February. Here's the thing, though, you're not alone in feeling this way, and more importantly, you're not stuck. What if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, some of the wisest people who ever lived figured out exactly how to create lasting change in their lives? I'm talking about the Stoics, ancient philosophers who weren't sitting in ivory towers debating abstract ideas. These were real people dealing with real problems. Marcus Aurelius was running an empire while dealing with plagues and wars. Epictetus was born into slavery and overcame incredible hardship. And Seneca was navigating the cutthroat world of Roman politics. The beautiful thing about Stoic wisdom is that it wasn't designed for perfect conditions. It was built for messy, complicated, everyday life. The kind of life where your boss drives you crazy, your commute is terrible, and you're trying to figure out how to pay rent while also trying to become the person you want to be. Sound familiar? Today, we're going to explore 10 ancient Stoic habits that can genuinely transform your 2025. These aren't complicated philosophical concepts that require years of study. They're practical, actionable strategies that you can start using today, whether you're dealing with anxiety about your job, trying to build better habits, or just wanting to feel more in control of your life. The ancient Stoics understood something we often forget in our modern world. Transformation doesn't happen through grand gestures or perfect conditions. It happens through small, consistent actions that compound over time. They knew that the person who masters their inner world, their thoughts, reactions, and daily choices, becomes truly free, regardless of what's happening around them. So if you're ready to stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you're actively creating the life you want, let's dive into these 10 habits. Each one is a tool that's been tested not just by ancient philosophers, but by millions of people throughout history who've used these principles to build resilience, find peace, and create meaningful change in their lives. 1. Why small changes beat big resolutions every time. Let me tell you about Sarah, a marketing manager in Manhattan who decided she was going to read 50 books in 2025. She bought a stack of bestsellers, downloaded audiobooks, and even cleared out a corner of her studio apartment to create the perfect reading nook. By January 15th, she hadn't finished a single book and was already feeling like a failure. Sound familiar? Here's what Sarah didn't know. She was fighting against 2,000 years of proven wisdom about how real change actually works. The ancient Stoics understood something that our instant gratification culture has forgotten. Transformation happens through small, deliberate steps, not dramatic overhauls. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, put it perfectly: well-being is realized by small steps, but it's no small thing. Think about that for a moment. The man who created an entire philosophy that would influence everyone from Roman emperors to modern CEOs understood that the secret wasn't in the size of the action, but in the consistency of it. But let's go even further back. George Washington, a man whose small daily decisions literally shaped a nation, cherished a humble Scottish proverb: "Many mickles make a muckle." In plain English, that means many small things add up to something big. Washington didn't become the leader who could hold together a fragile new country by making one grand gesture. He did it through thousands of small, principled decisions over decades. This isn't just ancient wisdom, modern science backs this up completely. James Clear's research on atomic habits shows us that habits are like atoms. They're the smallest units of behavior, but they contain enormous power when combined. When Sarah tried to read 50 books, she was essentially trying to build a skyscraper without laying a foundation. What she should have done was commit to reading just 1 page per day. 1 page, that's it. Sounds almost embarrassingly small, right? But here's the magic. 1 page per day, maintained consistently, becomes 365 pages per year. That's more than most full-length books. And more importantly, by day 30, Sarah would have built the identity of someone who reads daily. By day 60, it would feel weird not to read. By day 90, she'd probably find herself naturally reading more than 1 page because the habit had become part of who she is. The Stoics called this approach preferred indifference, focusing on what you can control, reading 1 page, rather than what you can't control, finishing 50 books by December 31st. When you focus on the small, controllable action, the big outcome often takes care of itself. Let's get practical about this. Maybe you want to get in shape this year. Instead of committing to an hour at the gym every day, commit to putting on your workout clothes every day. That's it. Some days you might just put them on and take them off. Other days you might do a few push-ups. And some days you might end up at the gym for a full workout. But every single day, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who exercises. Or maybe you want to be more productive at work. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire workflow, commit to clearing your desk every evening before you leave. Takes 2 minutes, but it sets you up for success the next morning and builds the habit of intentional preparation. The beauty of starting small is that it's almost impossible to fail. And when you don't fail, you build momentum. When you build momentum, you build confidence. When you build confidence, you naturally start doing more. It's like planting seeds. Each small action has the potential to grow into something magnificent, but only if you plant it and tend to it consistently. Here's what the Stoics knew that we often forget. The goal isn't the destination, it's the person you become on the journey. When Sarah commits to 1 page per day, she's not just trying to read more books. She's becoming someone who values learning, who keeps commitments to herself, and who understands that consistency beats intensity every time. Seneca, another Stoic master, wrote extensively about this principle. He didn't try to become wise all at once. He committed to examining his thoughts and actions a little bit each day. He wrote letters to his friend Lucilius not because he had everything figured out, but because the daily practice of reflection and writing was making him wiser, 1 letter at a time. So as you think about what you want to change in 2025, resist the urge to go big. Instead, go small. Go so small that it feels almost silly not to do it. Because here's the secret the ancient Stoics discovered. The person who can master small things consistently will eventually master big things naturally. But the person who tries to master big things without mastering small things will usually master nothing at all. Remember, even the mightiest river starts as a trickle. Your transformation starts with your next small decision. 2. How to stop anxiety from controlling your life. Marcus Aurelius Method. It's 7:30 a.m. on the Red Line in Chicago, and Marcus is gripping his coffee cup so tightly his knuckles are white. In 3 hours, he has to present the quarterly budget to the executive team, and his mind is spiraling. What if he stumbles over the numbers? What if they ask a question he can't answer? What if this is the presentation that finally exposes him as a fraud who doesn't belong in that boardroom? Sound familiar? Marcus are not the emperor, but the accountant from Lincoln Park is experiencing something that affects 40 million American adults every year. Anxiety that feels completely out of control. But here's what modern Marcus doesn't know. He shares his name with someone who figured out the secret to mastering anxiety over 1,800 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, had slightly bigger problems than quarterly presentations. He was dealing with plagues, wars, political conspiracies, and the constant pressure of decisions that could affect millions of lives. Yet in his personal journal, which we now call Meditations, he wrote one of the most powerful statements about anxiety ever recorded. Today I escaped from anxiety. Or no, I discarded it, because it was within me. Read that again. He didn't say anxiety left him alone. He didn't say his circumstances improved. He said he discarded it because it was within him. This is the foundation of the Stoic approach to anxiety. Recognizing that the storm isn't happening around you, it's happening inside you. And if it's inside you, that means you have the power to do something about it. Let's go back to our modern Marcus on the red line. His anxiety feels completely real and justified. After all, the presentation is important, the executives are intimidating, and the stakes feel high. But here's what the ancient Marcus Aurelius would tell him. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The presentation isn't causing the anxiety. The executives aren't causing the anxiety. The potential questions aren't causing the anxiety. Marcus's thoughts about the presentation, the executives, and the potential questions, that's what's causing the anxiety. And thoughts, unlike external events, are something we can learn to control. This isn't positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. This is about understanding the difference between what's actually happening and what we're afraid might happen. Right now, on that train, Marcus is safe. He's prepared. He knows the numbers. The presentation hasn't even started yet, but he's already living through a dozen imaginary disasters. The Stoic solution starts with a simple question that Marcus Aurelius asked himself constantly. Is this worry about what's happening right now, or what I fear might happen? 9 times out of 10, anxiety is about the future, a future that exists only in our imagination. Here's the practical technique that can change everything. When you feel anxiety rising, stop and take 3 deep breaths. Not because breathing is magic, but because it forces you to pause the mental spiral. Then ask yourself, what exactly am I anxious about right now, in this moment? Not in 3 hours, not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. Our modern Marcus would realize. Right now, he's sitting on a train, holding coffee, reviewing his notes. Nothing bad is happening. The anxiety is about a future scenario that hasn't occurred and might never occur the way he's imagining it. The next step is what Marcus Aurelius called the discipline of perception. Instead of thinking, what if I mess up the presentation? Try thinking, I'm going to do my best with the information I have. Instead of, what if they think I'm incompetent? Try, I'll answer what I can and admit what I don't know. This isn't lying to yourself. It's choosing to focus on what you can control rather than what you can't. But here's where most people get the Stoic approach wrong. They think it's about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. That's not it at all. Marcus Aurelius felt fear, doubt, and worry just like everyone else. The difference is that he didn't let those feelings make his decisions for him. When anxiety shows up, acknowledge it. I notice I'm feeling anxious about this presentation. Don't judge it, don't fight it, just notice it. Then ask, what would I do right now if I weren't anxious? Maybe you'd review your notes calmly. Maybe you'd practice your opening statement. Maybe you'd just sit quietly and prepare mentally. Do that thing. This is what Stoics call acting according to virtue despite your emotions. Not acting without emotions. You can feel anxious and still choose courage. You can feel worried and still choose wisdom. You can feel uncertain and still choose to do your best. Marcus Aurelius had a powerful technique for this. He would imagine himself as an observer of his own thoughts, watching them come and go like clouds in the sky. That's an anxious thought, he might notice. There's a worried thought, but he didn't become those thoughts. He remained the observer, the one with the power to choose which thoughts to follow and which to let pass by. The most liberating realization is this: anxiety isn't preparing you for anything. It's not making you more ready, more careful, or more successful. It's like sitting in a rocking chair, lots of movement, but you're not going anywhere. The energy you're spending on worry could be spent on preparation, on rest, or on simply being present in your life. As our modern Marcus walks into that conference room, he can carry with him the wisdom of his ancient namesake. Confine yourself to the present. The presentation will unfold one moment at a time. He can handle one moment. He can handle one question. He can handle one breath, one word, one decision at a time. The goal isn't to never feel anxiety. That's not human. The goal is to feel it without being controlled by it, to acknowledge it without being paralyzed by it, and to act with courage despite it. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. Remember, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. 3. The 5-minute morning routine that changes everything. Jessica's alarm goes off at 6:45 a.m. in her Venice Beach apartment. By 6:46, she's already scrolling through Instagram, checking work emails, and mentally running through her packed schedule at the marketing agency. By the time she's rushing out the door with coffee in one hand and her laptop bag in the other, she already feels behind, reactive, and like the day is controlling her instead of the other way around. What Jessica doesn't realize is that she's lost the most important battle of the day before 7 a.m., the battle for her morning. And according to the ancient Stoics, whoever wins the morning wins the day. Seneca, the Roman philosopher and advisor to emperors, understood this principle deeply. He once wrote, "Life without a design is erratic." He wasn't talking about having a 5-year plan or a detailed calendar. He was talking about having intention behind your actions, especially in those crucial first moments of the day when you set the tone for everything that follows. Here's what Seneca knew that Jessica hasn't figured out yet. The morning isn't just the beginning of your day. It's when you decide who you're going to be for the next 16 hours. Are you going to be someone who reacts to whatever comes at you, or someone who approaches the day with purpose and calm? The Stoic morning routine isn't about getting up at 4 a.m. or spending an hour in meditation. It's about claiming those first few minutes for yourself before the world starts making demands on your attention. It's about what Seneca called owning the morning, not letting it own you. Let me show you how Jessica could transform her entire day with just 5 minutes of intentional morning practice. Minute 1. The pause instead of reaching for her phone the moment she opens her eyes. Jessica takes 1 full minute to simply be present. She takes 3 deep breaths and asks herself, how do I want to show up today? Not what she has to do, but who she wants to be. Maybe today she wants to be patient with difficult clients, or focused during meetings, or kind to herself when things don't go perfectly. This isn't just feel-good fluff. This is setting your intention before the chaos begins. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning, reminding himself of his values and his purpose before facing the challenges of running an empire. He would write things like, today I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. But then he'd remind himself how he wanted to respond to these challenges. Minute 2. Gratitude grounding. Jessica spends the second minute identifying 3 things she's genuinely grateful for. Not generic stuff like health or family, but specific things from yesterday or things she's looking forward to today. Maybe it's the fact that her neighbor brought in her packages, or that she gets to work on a creative project she's excited about, or simply that she woke up in a comfortable bed. The Stoics practiced gratitude not because they were naturally optimistic people, but because they understood that what you focus on expands. If you start the day focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, you approach challenges from a position of abundance rather than scarcity. Minute 3. The day's priority. This is where Jessica asks herself, if I could only accomplish one thing today, what would make this day feel successful? Not the longest item on her to-do list, not the most urgent email, but the one thing that would make her feel like she moved the needle on something important. Seneca was obsessed with this concept. He believed that most people are busy but not productive, active but not effective. By identifying your one key priority before the day begins, you ensure that even if everything else goes sideways, you've made progress on what truly matters. Minute 4. Mental preparation. Now Jessica takes a minute to mentally walk through her day, but not in the anxious way she used to. Instead, she practices what Stoics call premeditatio malorum, imagining potential challenges and deciding in advance how she wants to respond to them. If the client meeting runs long, she'll stay calm and focused. If her boss gives her unexpected feedback, she'll listen without getting defensive. If traffic is terrible, she'll use the time to listen to a podcast or simply practice patience. This isn't pessimistic thinking, it's strategic preparation. By deciding in advance how you want to handle difficulties, you're much more likely to respond with wisdom rather than react with emotion. Minute 5. The commitment. The final minute is when Jessica makes a simple commitment to herself. No matter what happens today, I will end the day feeling proud of how I showed up. This isn't about perfectionism or unrealistic expectations. It's about committing to live according to your values, regardless of external circumstances. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy, the understanding that you can't control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. By making this commitment in the morning, you're reminding yourself that you have agency, that you have power, that you get to choose who you are regardless of what the day throws at you. Now, here's what's beautiful about this routine. It works whether you're a morning person or not. Whether you wake up at 5 a.m. or 9 a.m., whether you live alone or with roommates, whether you have kids or pets or a demanding schedule. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Everyone has 5 minutes. But here's the key. You have to protect these 5 minutes like they're the most important meeting of your day. Because in a way, they are. This is your meeting with yourself, your opportunity to set the tone, your chance to remember who you want to be before the world starts telling you who you should be. Seneca understood that most people don't plan their days. They just react to them. They wake up and immediately start responding to other people's priorities. Emails, news, social media, demands from family or work. By the time they've had their coffee, they've already given away their power to choose their own focus and energy. But when you start with intention, when you claim those first 5 minutes for yourself, something magical happens. You approach the day from a place of strength rather than weakness, clarity rather than confusion, purpose rather than reactivity. Jessica doesn't know it yet, but when she starts protecting her mornings, she's not just changing her routine, she's changing her life. Because the person who masters the morning becomes the person who masters the day. And the person who masters the day one day at a time becomes the person who masters their life. As Seneca reminds us, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Let tomorrow morning be the beginning of your new beginning. 4. How to break any bad habit in one decision, like Eisenhower did. David sits in his San Francisco apartment at 11:30 p.m., the blue glow of his phone illuminating his face as he scrolls through TikTok for the 3rd hour straight. He has an important presentation tomorrow, he should be sleeping, and he knows this endless scrolling is stealing his time, his focus, and his peace of mind. But somehow he can't stop. One more video, he tells himself. Just 5 more minutes. Sound familiar? David is trapped in what millions of us experience daily, the prison of our own habits. But what he doesn't know is that over 70 years ago, one of the most powerful men in the world faced a similar prison and broke free with a single decision that changed everything. Dwight D. Eisenhower was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day. For packs, that's 80 cigarettes daily for a man who was commanding Allied forces in World War II and would later become President of the United States. When his doctor told him his health was in serious danger and he needed to quit, Eisenhower didn't gradually reduce his smoking, didn't try patches or gum, didn't set a quit date for next month. He looked at his doctor and said, "I'm giving myself an order to stop." And just like that, after 40 years of smoking, he quit cold turkey and never touched another cigarette. This story isn't just about smoking. It's about the profound Stoic principle that Epictetus captured perfectly. No man is free who is not master of himself. Eisenhower understood something that David, scrolling on his phone, hasn't grasped yet. True freedom comes from the ability to command yourself, especially when you don't feel like it. The ancient Stoics called this concept hegemonikon, the ruling center of the mind, the part of you that can observe your impulses and choose whether to follow them or not. Every time David feels the urge to pick up his phone and scroll, there's a moment, sometimes just a split second, where he can choose. The problem is, he's not recognizing that moment, and he's certainly not exercising his power in it. Here's what the Stoics understood that modern psychology is just catching up to. You don't break bad habits through willpower alone, and you don't break them gradually. You break them through a fundamental shift in identity. When Eisenhower gave himself the order to stop, he wasn't just deciding to quit smoking. He was deciding to become someone who doesn't smoke. The habit died the moment his identity changed. Let's get practical about this. David's real problem isn't TikTok. It's that he sees himself as someone who has trouble with self-control, or someone who gets distracted easily. As long as that's his identity, he'll keep acting in ways that confirm it. But what if, instead, he decided to become someone who protects his time and energy? Seneca, another Stoic master, observed that we are all slaves to something. The question isn't whether you have habits that control you. Everyone does. The question is whether you're going to recognize your chains and decide to break them, or keep pretending they don't exist while wondering why you feel stuck. Here's the Stoic method for breaking any bad habit in one decision. Step 1. Radical honesty first. You have to get brutally honest about what this habit is costing you. David needs to calculate not just the time he's losing to mindless scrolling, 3 hours a night, 21 hours a week, over 1,000 hours a year, but what he's losing in terms of sleep, focus, productivity, and self-respect. When you truly understand the price you're paying, the decision becomes easier. Step 2. The identity shift. This is where the magic happens. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to spend less time on my phone," David needs to say, "I am someone who values my time and attention too much to waste it on meaningless content." Instead of, "I should stop scrolling," it becomes, "I don't scroll mindlessly because that's not who I am." This isn't just semantic trickery. This is how your brain works. Your actions follow your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, you'll act accordingly. If you see yourself as someone who has mastery over their choices, you'll act accordingly. Step 3. The command. Here's where Eisenhower's approach becomes crucial. You don't negotiate with the habit, you don't make deals with yourself, you don't create elaborate systems. You give yourself a direct, non-negotiable order. I stop this behavior now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after you finish this one last episode. Now, this requires what the Stoics called prosoc, continuous attention to the present moment. The next time David feels the urge to pick up his phone for mindless scrolling, he needs to recognize that moment of choice and exercise his command. I don't do this anymore. Step 4. Replace. Don't just remove. The Stoics understood that nature abhors a vacuum. If you just remove a bad habit without replacing it with something better, you'll likely fall back into the old pattern. When David feels the urge to scroll, he needs a predetermined alternative. Maybe he reads a few pages of a book, does some push-ups, or simply sits quietly for a few minutes. The key is choosing the replacement in advance, when you're thinking clearly, not in the moment when the urge hits and your judgment might be clouded. But here's what's really powerful about the Stoic approach. It's not just about breaking one habit. It's about proving to yourself that you have the power to change. Every time David successfully chooses not to scroll when he feels the urge, he's not just avoiding TikTok. He's reinforcing his identity as someone who has self-mastery. Epictetus, who went from being a slave to becoming one of the most influential philosophers in history, understood this deeply. He taught that we become free not when our external circumstances change, but when we realize we have the power to choose our response to any situation. The beautiful thing about giving yourself an order to stop is that it works for any habit that's holding you back. Maybe it's checking email obsessively, maybe it's complaining about things you can't control, maybe it's staying up too late watching Netflix, maybe it's saying yes to commitments that don't align with your values. Whatever it is, the process is the same. Get honest about the cost, shift your identity, give yourself the command, and replace the old behavior with something that serves you better. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your habits are not outside events happening to you. They're choices you make, moment by moment. And if they're choices, that means you have the power to choose differently. The question isn't whether you can break your bad habits. Eisenhower proved that's possible with a single decision. The question is whether you're ready to give yourself the order and become the master of your own life. 5. Stop wasting time on things that don't matter. Emma is a pre-med student at Boston University, and she's convinced she doesn't have enough time to study. She's stressed, overwhelmed, and constantly behind on her coursework. "I need more hours in the day," she tells her roommate. But when Emma finally checks her screen time report, she gets a shock that changes everything. 4 hours and 23 minutes daily on her phone. That's over 30 hours per week, nearly a full-time job's worth of time spent on apps that add absolutely nothing to her life. Emma's problem isn't that she doesn't have enough time. Her problem is that she's hemorrhaging her most precious resource without even realizing it. The ancient Stoics understood something that our hyper-connected world has forgotten. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource we have. You can make more money, you can build new relationships, you can recover from illness, but you can never get back a single minute once it's gone. Seneca, who was obsessed with the proper use of time, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Think about that. We don't actually have a time shortage, we have a time management crisis. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who understood the value of focus better than almost anyone, said, "If you wish to improve, be willing to appear clueless or stupid about some things." What he meant was this: if you want to excel at what matters, you have to be willing to ignore what doesn't matter, even if other people think those things are important. This is where Emma and millions of people like her get trapped. They think they need to stay informed about everything, connected to everyone, and aware of every trending topic, viral video, and breaking news story. But here's what the Stoics knew: the person who tries to pay attention to everything ends up paying real attention to nothing. Let's get brutally honest about where our time actually goes. Emma's 4 hours and 23 minutes breaks down like this: 90 minutes on Instagram looking at people she barely knows living lives she doesn't actually care about, 75 minutes on TikTok watching videos she won't remember tomorrow, 45 minutes on Twitter getting angry about political arguments she can't influence, and 33 minutes on various other apps that exist solely to capture her attention and sell it to advertisers. That's 1,600 hours per year. 40 full work weeks. An entire semester's worth of time that could be spent studying, exercising, building relationships, learning new skills, or simply resting. Instead, it's being traded away for the temporary dopamine hit of endless scrolling. But here's the thing: Emma isn't weak or lazy or lacking in willpower. She's being systematically manipulated by some of the smartest engineers and psychologists in the world, people who are paid millions of dollars to make their apps as addictive as possible. The attention economy is designed to capture and monetize your focus, and it's incredibly good at what it does. The Stoic solution isn't to rage against technology or pretend we can live without smartphones. The solution is to become ruthlessly selective about what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Marcus Aurelius, who had to manage an entire empire while dealing with plagues, wars, and political intrigue, developed a simple but powerful question that he asked himself constantly: is this necessary? Not, is this interesting? Or, is this entertaining? Or, is this what everyone else is doing? Just, is this necessary? Let's apply this to Emma's situation. Is it necessary for her to know what her high school acquaintance had for lunch? Is it necessary for her to watch a 30-second video of a stranger dancing? Is it necessary for her to read the 47th article about a celebrity controversy that will be forgotten next week? The answer is obvious, but here's why it's hard to act on. These activities feel necessary in the moment. The apps are designed to create artificial urgency to make you feel like you're missing out if you don't check them constantly. But this is an illusion, and the Stoics were masters at seeing through illusions. Seneca had a practice that Emma desperately needs. He would regularly audit how he spent his time, asking himself whether each activity brought him closer to his goals or further from them. He called this examining the day, and it's one of the most powerful habits you can develop. Here's how Emma can start reclaiming her time. The awareness phase. For 1 week, track everything. Not just screen time, but how you spend every hour. You can't manage what you don't measure, and most people are shocked when they see where their time actually goes. The elimination phase. Identify the biggest time wasters and eliminate them completely. Not reduce them, eliminate them. Delete the apps that add no value to your life. Unsubscribe from email lists that clutter your inbox with things you don't need. Stop checking news sites that make you anxious without making you more informed. The protection phase. Set up systems to protect your reclaimed time. Put your phone in another room when you're studying. Use website blockers during focused work time. Create specific times for checking messages instead of being constantly available. But here's the deeper principle that the Stoics understood. This isn't just about productivity or efficiency. This is about freedom. Every minute you spend on something that doesn't matter is a minute you're not spending on something that does matter. Every hour you give to meaningless distraction is an hour you're not giving to your relationships, your growth, your health, or your purpose. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming a philosopher, understood the difference between external freedom and internal freedom. You might not be able to control all your circumstances, but you can always control where you direct your attention. And your attention is your life. It's the one thing that's truly yours. When Emma finally deleted Instagram from her phone, something beautiful happened. The first few days were uncomfortable. She kept reaching for her phone out of habit, only to remember the app wasn't there. But by the end of the first week, she had read 3 chapters ahead in her biology textbook. By the end of the month, she had started a workout routine, called her grandmother twice, and actually felt caught up on her studies for the first time in months. The time had been there all along. She just had to stop giving it away. As you think about your own relationship with time, remember Seneca's warning: nothing belongs to us except time. Your time is your life, distributed in daily portions. How you spend your time is how you spend your life. The person who masters their time masters their destiny. The question isn't whether you have enough time. The question is whether you're brave enough to stop wasting the time you have on things that don't matter so you can invest it in things that do. 6. Why you should do one hard thing every day. It's January 1st, 2025, and while most people in Miami are nursing hangovers and making resolutions they won't keep, Carlos is standing in his bathroom at 6 a.m. staring at his shower handle. He's about to do something that every fiber of his being is screaming against: take a completely cold shower. Not lukewarm, not cool, ice cold. In Miami, it's already 78 degrees outside, and a hot shower would feel amazing. Why would anyone choose discomfort when comfort is available? Carlos is about to discover something the ancient Stoics knew 2,000 years ago: the person who can choose difficulty when ease is available becomes unbreakable. This practice goes back to Seneca, one of Rome's most influential Stoic philosophers. Every new year, Seneca had a ritual that shocked his wealthy Roman friends. He would plunge into the icy waters of the Tiber River. Not because he enjoyed it, not because he was trying to impress anyone, but because he understood something profound about human nature and strength. Seneca wasn't just taking a cold plunge, he was making a declaration. He was saying, I am in control of my actions, my reactions, and my mind. I choose what I do, not my comfort, not my impulses, not my circumstances. It was a daily reminder that he was the commander of his own life. Here's what Seneca understood that Carlos is about to learn. Comfort is seductive, but it's also dangerous. When you always choose the easy path, the comfortable option, the path of least resistance, you slowly but surely train yourself to be weak. Not physically weak, mentally weak. You train yourself to be someone who can't handle difficulty, someone who crumbles when life gets hard. And life will get hard. You'll face job losses, relationship challenges, health scares, financial stress, and 1,000 other difficulties that you can't control. When those moments come, the question won't be whether you're smart enough or talented enough to handle them. It'll be whether you're strong enough. And strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in discomfort, chosen deliberately, one difficult decision at a time. As Carlos turns that handle to full cold, his body immediately rebels. His breathing becomes rapid and shallow, his muscles tense up, and every instinct tells him to turn the water back to warm. But here's the magic moment. Instead of giving in to that impulse, he breathes deeply and stays under the cold water. In that moment, he's not just taking a shower, he's proving to himself that he can do hard things. This isn't about the cold shower itself. The cold shower is just a tool, a daily practice that builds something much more valuable, the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. It's what psychologists call stress inoculation, deliberately exposing yourself to manageable stress so you're better equipped to handle unavoidable stress. But let's be clear about what this practice is and what it isn't. It's not about being tough for the sake of being tough. It's not about suffering unnecessarily or making your life harder for no reason. It's about building what the Stoics called inner citadel, an unshakable core of strength that external circumstances can't touch. The beautiful thing about choosing one hard thing daily is that it can be anything. Maybe you're not ready for cold showers, and that's fine. Maybe your hard thing is waking up 30 minutes earlier than you want to. Maybe it's going to the gym when you'd rather stay on the couch. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's saying no to something you want but know isn't good for you. The specific action doesn't matter as much as the principle. Every day you deliberately choose discomfort over comfort in some area of your life. You prove to yourself that you're stronger than your immediate impulses, that you can act according to your values even when you don't feel like it. Take Sarah, a marketing executive in Denver. Her hard thing isn't cold showers, it's walking to work every morning, regardless of the weather. Rain, snow, heat, cold, she walks those 20 minutes to the office. Her coworkers think she's crazy. Just take an Uber, they say. It's freezing out there. But Sarah understands what they don't. She's not just getting to work, she's building resilience. She's proving to herself daily that she can handle discomfort, that weather doesn't control her decisions, that she's tougher than her circumstances. Or consider Marcus, a software engineer in Seattle who does 50 push-ups every morning before checking his phone. Some mornings he's tired, some mornings he's sore, some mornings he just doesn't want to. But he does them anyway because he's not just building physical strength, he's building the mental strength that comes from keeping promises to yourself. The Stoics had a term for this, ascesis, which means training or exercise. But they weren't just talking about physical training, they were talking about training your character, your will, your ability to choose virtue over ease. Every time you choose the hard thing when the easy thing is available, you're doing ascesis. You're becoming stronger. Here's what happens when you make this a daily practice. Life starts to feel more manageable. Not because your problems get smaller, but because you get stronger. The job interview that used to terrify you becomes just another challenge you can handle. The difficult conversation with your boss becomes an opportunity to practice courage. The financial setback becomes a chance to practice resilience. But here's the key, the hard thing has to be chosen, not imposed. When life forces difficulty on you, that's just life. When you choose difficulty when you could choose ease, that's character building. That's strength training for your soul. Seneca put it perfectly, Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" He wasn't advocating poverty, he was advocating strength. He was saying, practice being uncomfortable so that when discomfort is unavoidable, you're ready for it. As Carlos steps out of that cold shower, something has changed. It's subtle, but it's real. He feels more awake, more alert, and most importantly, more confident. Not because cold showers are magic, but because he just proved to himself that he can do something difficult. He can choose discomfort when comfort is available. He can be stronger than his immediate impulses. That confidence will carry him through his day, through his week, through his year. Because when you know you can handle a cold shower when you don't want to, you start to believe you can handle other hard things too. You start to see yourself not as someone who avoids difficulty, but as someone who faces it head-on. The question isn't whether you should do hard things. Life will give you plenty of those, whether you want them or not. The question is whether you'll choose to do hard things when you don't have to, so you're ready when you do have to. 7. Your friends are making you weak. Here's how to fix it. Jake sits in a sports bar in downtown Philadelphia with his college buddies, and the conversation is depressingly familiar. Mike is complaining about his job but won't update his resume. Tom is talking about getting in shape while ordering his third beer and wings. Danny is lamenting his financial situation while planning an expensive weekend trip. And Jake? Jake is starting to realize that these weekly hangouts aren't just unproductive, they're actively making him worse. This is a hard truth most people never want to face. The people you spend the most time with are either lifting you up or dragging you down. There's no neutral. And if you're not careful about who you surround yourself with, you might find that your social circle has become a prison keeping you from becoming who you're meant to be. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, understood this principle so deeply that he built his entire approach to personal development around it. In his letters to his friend Lucilius, he wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." Notice what he's saying. Relationships should be mutually elevating. You should be making each other better, not enabling each other's worst tendencies. Here's what Seneca knew that Jake is just figuring out. Most people are unconsciously committed to staying exactly where they are. They complain about problems but resist solutions. They say they want to change but sabotage anyone in their group who actually tries to improve. It's not that they're bad people, it's that change is threatening and your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. Think about it. If you're the only person in your friend group trying to eat healthier, what happens when you suggest a restaurant with good salad options instead of the usual pizza place? You get pushback. Come on, live a little. Don't be so uptight. One night won't kill you. They're not trying to sabotage your health, they're trying to maintain the group dynamic where everyone makes the same choices and no one has to feel bad about their decisions. This is what psychologists call crab bucket mentality. When crabs are caught and put in a bucket, any crab that tries to climb out gets pulled back down by the others. Jake's weekly hangouts have become a crab bucket. Every time he mentions wanting to advance in his career, Mike makes jokes about corporate sellouts. When he talks about saving money, Danny calls him cheap. When he suggests doing something active instead of just drinking, Tom acts like he's being a buzzkill. But here's where the Stoic approach gets powerful. You don't have to cut people out completely, but you do have to be strategic about how you engage with them. Seneca didn't just surround himself with wise people, he also knew how to interact with everyone else without letting them drag him down. The first step is radical honesty about your current social circle. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with and ask, are these people making me better or worse? Not whether you like them or have history together, but whether they're genuinely supporting your growth or unconsciously undermining it. For each person, ask, after I spend time with this person, do I feel more motivated or less motivated? More confident or less confident? More focused on my goals or more distracted from them? Your emotional state after social interactions is a reliable indicator of whether those relationships are serving you. The second step is what Seneca called choosing your influences. You need to actively seek out people who embody the qualities you want to develop. If you want to be more disciplined, spend time with disciplined people. If you want career success, find mentors and peers who are where you want to be. If you want to be healthier, join communities of people who prioritize their health. Jake started making changes gradually. He still sees his college friends, but not every week and not in the same context. Instead of meeting at the sports bar where conversation always turns to complaints, he suggests activities that bring out better versions of everyone. Hiking, trying new restaurants, and interesting events around the city. Some friends adapted to this new dynamic. Others didn't, and Jake had to accept that some relationships would naturally fade. At the same time, Jake started building new relationships. He joined a young professionals group in his industry. He started going to a gym where he could work out with people who shared his fitness goals. He began attending workshops where he met people interested in learning and growing. These weren't just networking opportunities, they were chances to surround himself with people who would reinforce his best impulses instead of his worst ones. Here's what happened. Within 6 months, Jake's entire life trajectory changed. Not because he got lucky or suddenly became more talented, but because he changed his social environment. When you're surrounded by people who expect you to grow, you grow. When you're surrounded by people who expect you to stay the same, you stay the same. Let's address the elephant in the room. This process can be lonely at first. When you start raising your standards for relationships, your social calendar might get emptier before it gets fuller. Some people will be confused by your changes. Others might be resentful. This is normal and it's temporary. Seneca experienced this too. As he grew in wisdom and influence, some old relationships couldn't handle his transformation. But he understood that loneliness is better than bad company and that the right people would eventually appear if he stayed committed to his values. Here's the practical framework. Divide your relationships into 3 categories. First, people who actively make you better. Spend more time with them. Second, people who don't particularly influence you either way. These relationships are fine in moderation. Third, people who consistently drag you down. You need to limit exposure to them or end these relationships entirely. This isn't about being elitist or thinking you're better than other people. It's about recognizing that your social environment is one of the most powerful forces shaping your life, and you have both the right and responsibility to curate it intentionally. As Seneca wrote, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your transformation starts with the courage to choose relationships that elevate you, even when it means walking away from those that don't. The people around you will either lift you up or pull you down. Choose wisely because your future depends on it. 8. How to actually embrace change instead of fighting it. It's a crisp morning in Seattle and Lisa is staring out of her office window, feeling the familiar knot of anxiety in her stomach. The company she's worked for over the last 5 years is undergoing a major restructuring. Layoffs have been announced and her department is on the chopping block. Instead of focusing on her work, she's obsessing over every what-if scenario. What if she loses her job? What if she has to start all over again? What if she never finds a job she loves again? Sound familiar? Change is often uncomfortable and our instinct is to resist it with every ounce of our being. But what if I told you that resisting change is not just futile, it's detrimental? The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, understood this well. He saw life as a constant ebb and flow of transformation, and instead of fearing change, he embraced it as a natural part of existence. In his Meditations, Marcus wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the Stoic attitude toward change. It's not about the change itself, but rather how we perceive and respond to it. Let's break this down. Change will happen, whether you like it or not. The seasons change, people come and go, industries evolve, and unexpected events unfold. What's within your control, however, is how you choose to react to that change. Step 1. Shift your perspective on change. Instead of viewing change as a threat, try to see it as an opportunity. When Lisa feels that knot in her stomach, she can pause and ask herself, what opportunities could arise from this change? Maybe it's a chance to pursue a job that aligns more closely with her passions. Maybe it's an opportunity to learn new skills that make her more marketable. Changing how we think about change can significantly impact how we feel and respond to it. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Consider asking, what if I succeed? This shift in mindset can help alleviate anxiety and open up new pathways for growth. Step 2. Acceptance and action. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of accepting what we cannot control. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. When Lisa accepts that she cannot control the company's decisions, she frees herself from the mental burden of trying to do so. Acceptance does not mean passivity, it means recognizing reality and then choosing to act. Once Lisa has accepted the situation, she can focus on what she can control: her job search, networking, updating her resume, and developing new skills. Taking action, even small steps, can provide a sense of agency and reduce feelings of helplessness. Step 3. Embrace discomfort as growth. The Stoics believed that discomfort is often a precursor to growth. Just as a muscle must endure strain to become stronger, we must face uncomfortable situations to develop resilience and character. This is where the concept of voluntary discomfort comes into play. Lisa could choose to lean into discomfort by taking on challenging projects at work that push her out of her comfort zone, even if she's uncertain about her future. She might also set a goal to attend networking events or workshops, even if the thought of meeting new people makes her anxious. Each time she steps outside her comfort zone, she builds her resilience. Step 4. Cultivate a mindset of adaptability. Adaptability is one of the most valuable skills in navigating change. The world is unpredictable, and those who can adjust their sails when the winds shift are the ones who thrive. Marcus Aurelius practiced this by reminding himself that every obstacle is an opportunity to exercise virtue, patience, courage, and wisdom. When faced with change, Lisa can ask herself, how can I adapt to this situation? What resources do I have that can help me navigate this change? By fostering a mindset of adaptability, she prepares herself to handle whatever comes her way. Step 5. Focus on continuous improvement. Finally, remember that change doesn't have to be a one-time event. Instead, think of it as part of a continuous journey of self-improvement. The Stoics believed in the concept of eudaimonia, or flourishing, which comes from living in accordance with your values and constantly striving for personal growth. Lisa can set goals not just for finding a new job, but for becoming a better version of herself. This could involve developing new skills, volunteering, or pursuing hobbies that bring her joy. By focusing on continuous improvement, she shifts her energy from worrying about what she might lose to celebrating what she can gain. As Lisa begins to embrace the changes in her life, she starts to feel a shift. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, she feels empowered to take action. She realizes that change doesn't have to be a source of anxiety. It can be a catalyst for growth, resilience, and new opportunities. In the end, the Stoic approach to change teaches us that while we cannot control external events, we can control our thoughts, our reactions, and our choices. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Embrace change and let it lead you to new horizons. 9. The power of saying no to everything that doesn't matter. For many people, saying no feels like an impossible task. Meet Rachel, a busy project manager in Austin who's always the first to volunteer for every task at work and the last to turn down an invitation from friends. Her calendar is packed with meetings, social events, and obligations, yet she constantly feels overwhelmed and stretched thin. Sound familiar? Rachel's problem isn't a lack of time, it's a lack of boundaries. What she doesn't realize is that every time she says yes to something that doesn't align with her values or goals, she's inadvertently saying no to something that does, her time, her energy, and her peace of mind. The Stoics understood the importance of discernment in every aspect of life, especially when it comes to how we allocate our time and energy. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously advised, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" This simple question can be a powerful tool in determining where to invest your time and effort. Why saying no matters. Saying no is not just about rejecting requests, it's about protecting your priorities. Every commitment you make takes time and energy away from something else. When you agree to attend an event that doesn't excite you or take on a project that doesn't align with your career goals, you're sacrificing something valuable, your time. Research shows that the average person spends nearly 30 hours a week on unproductive tasks. That's time that could be dedicated to meaningful work, personal growth, or simply relaxation. The Stoics believed that time is our most precious resource, and wasting it on activities that don't serve us is a disservice to ourselves. Step 1. Assess your commitments. For Rachel to regain control of her time, she needs to take a hard look at her current commitments. She should ask herself which tasks and obligations truly align with her goals and values. Which meetings are necessary? Which social events bring her joy? By identifying the non-essential commitments, Rachel can start to reclaim her time. Step 2. Practice the art of saying no. Saying no doesn't have to be confrontational or dramatic. It can be as simple as expressing gratitude and then declining. For example, if a coworker asks Rachel to take on an extra project, she might say, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't take on any additional responsibilities right now." Practicing this kind of assertiveness can be liberating. The more Rachel practices saying no, the easier it will become. She'll start to feel empowered rather than guilty for prioritizing her own well-being. Step 3. Recognize the fear of missing out, FOMO. One of the biggest barriers to saying no is fear of missing out. Rachel might worry that if she declines social invitations, she'll miss important connections or experiences. However, the Stoics taught that true contentment comes from within, not from external validation or experiences. When Rachel feels the urge to say yes out of fear of missing out, she should remind herself that every decision has consequences. By choosing to attend an event out of obligation rather than genuine interest, she may miss out on something more valuable, time for self-care, relaxation, or pursuing her passions. Step 4. Set clear boundaries. Rachel can benefit from establishing clear boundaries in her personal and professional life. This might mean setting specific times for work and personal activities, creating do not disturb hours, or communicating her limits to colleagues and friends. For example, she might decide that evenings after work are reserved for family time or personal projects. Communicating these boundaries allows others to understand her priorities, making it easier for Rachel to say no when new commitments arise. Step 5. Focus on what truly matters. The final step is to align commitments with personal values and priorities. Rachel can ask herself, does this opportunity align with my long-term goals? If the answer is no, it's easier to decline. The The Stoics believed in living a life of virtue, and part of that is ensuring your actions align with your principles. By focusing on what truly matters, Rachel can build a life that reflects her values rather than one dictated by external pressures. As Rachel begins to say no more often, she notices a shift. Her calendar opens up and she finds time for hobbies she loves, relationships that uplift her, and moments of peace that she had long neglected. She realizes that by protecting her time and energy, she's not just saying no to others, she's saying yes to herself. In the end, the Stoic approach to saying no teaches us that every commitment counts. It's not just about rejecting requests, it's about consciously choosing how to invest your time, ensuring that every yes aligns with your values and goals. As Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already. By saying no to what doesn't matter, you create space for what truly enriches your life. 10. What to do when you fall off track, and you will. It's a Saturday afternoon in Phoenix, and Lisa sits on her couch, staring blankly at the TV. A week ago, she was riding high on motivation, sticking to her new fitness routine and meal prep plan. But today, she's feeling like a failure because she skipped her workout for the third day in a row. She had intended to go to the gym, but after a long week of work, all she could muster was a bag of chips and a Netflix binge. Sound familiar? We all face moments when we fall off track. The key is not whether you stumble, it's how you respond when you do. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected on the inevitability of setbacks and errors. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles are not just roadblocks, they can also be stepping stones to growth and improvement. Step 1. Acknowledge the setback. The first step in overcoming any setback is to acknowledge it without judgment. Lisa needs to recognize that slipping up is a part of being human. Instead of berating herself for her perceived failure, she can take a moment to reflect on what happened. Why did she skip the gym? Was she genuinely tired, or was she avoiding discomfort? By examining her actions with curiosity rather than criticism, Lisa can learn valuable lessons. This is a crucial Stoic practice known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, where you mentally prepare for potential obstacles and reflect on how to handle them when they arise. Step 2. Reframe your mindset. Once Lisa acknowledges the setback, it's time to reframe her mindset. Instead of seeing herself as a failure for missing workouts, she can view this as an opportunity to reassess her approach. Perhaps her workout schedule was too ambitious, or maybe she needs to find more enjoyable activities that align with her interests. The Stoics taught that our thoughts shape our reality. By changing her internal narrative from "I failed" to "this is a chance to recalibrate," Lisa empowers herself to take constructive action rather than sink back into the cycle of guilt and defeat. Step 3. Identify the triggers. Next, Lisa should identify the triggers that led to her falling off track. What specific circumstances contributed to her decision to skip the gym? Was it stress from work? Fatigue? Social events? By recognizing these triggers, she can create strategies to address them in the future. For example, if she realizes that late-night fatigue is a consistent issue, she might consider adjusting her workout schedule to mornings or finding ways to manage her energy levels better throughout the week. The Stoics emphasized the importance of self-awareness, stating that understanding our patterns and behaviors is crucial for personal growth. Step 4. Take action, even small steps. The Stoics believed in the power of action. When you fall off track, take immediate, albeit small, actions to get back on course. For Lisa, this might mean committing to just 10 minutes of movement instead of a full workout. It could be a short walk, some stretching, or even a quick online workout video. The key is to avoid the all-or-nothing mindset. You don't have to jump back in at full intensity. Simply taking a small step reinforces the habit and shows that you're committed to getting back on track. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have the power over your mind, not outside events. Step 5. Build a support system. Finally, Lisa should remember that she doesn't have to navigate setbacks alone. Surrounding herself with supportive friends, mentors, or a community can provide the encouragement she needs to keep going. Sharing her goals and challenges with others can also create accountability, making it easier to stay on track. The Stoics valued the importance of fellowship and support, understanding that we are all part of a larger community. By connecting with like-minded individuals who share her goals, Lisa can find motivation and camaraderie on her journey. As Lisa reflects on her setbacks and implements these steps, she begins to see that falling off track isn't the end of the road, it's merely a detour. Each time she recommits to her goals, she strengthens her resilience and builds character. Life will always present obstacles, but by embracing the Stoic philosophy of acknowledging setbacks, reframing her mindset, identifying triggers, taking action, and building a support system, Lisa can navigate her journey with confidence. Remember, as the Stoics taught, the impediment to action can advance action. What stands in your way can become the path forward. Embrace the process of growth and know that every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. As we navigate the complexities of life in 2025, it's crucial to remember that the journey of self-improvement is not a straight path, but a winding road filled with challenges and opportunities. The Stoics teach us that setbacks are not failures, they are integral parts of our growth. Each time you stumble, you have the chance to reassess, recalibrate, and rise stronger. By embracing the power of small changes, learning to manage anxiety, establishing effective routines, breaking bad habits, prioritizing your time, choosing discomfort, surrounding yourself with uplifting friends, and navigating change with resilience, you create a robust foundation for personal growth. Remember, Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it's a practical guide for living a meaningful life. Each principle we've discussed serves as a tool to help you navigate the chaos of modern life with clarity and purpose. As you move forward, commit to the Stoic practices that resonate with you. Whether it's taking a moment each day for reflection, saying no to distractions, or facing challenges with courage, these habits will help you cultivate a life of virtue and fulfillment. Thank you for joining us on this journey into Stoic philosophy. By integrating these teachings into your daily life, you can transform not only your year but also your perspective on the challenges that lie ahead. Remember, every day offers a new canvas, and your actions are the brushstrokes that create your life's portrait. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the STOIC VIVU channel for more insights and inspiration. Like this video and share it with friends who could benefit from Stoic wisdom. Together, let's explore the path of continual growth and support each other in becoming the best versions of ourselves. Embrace the Stoic path and let it guide you toward a richer, more meaningful existence.